The 2015 Dusi Canoe Marathon is proudly brought to you by the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Sport and Recreation, HANSA and FNB.
The 64th edition of the Dusi Canoe Marathon began on Kampsdrift Canal in Pietermaritzburg as the 1,400 paddlers preparing to tackle this three-day journey down to Durban paid tribute to the race founder, Dr. Ian Player, who died late last year before taking to the waters of the Umzinduzi River.
The city of Pietermaritzburg comes alive on day one of the Dusi Canoe Marathon as the city, which has hosted this famous event since its inception in the 50s, looks forward to one of the iconic sporting events on the South African calendar. And the KwaZulu-Natal summer weather wasn't going to disappoint either, with every prospect of a blisteringly hot summer's day, as the paddlers, many of them paying tribute to Sheila Pearce, the widow of Ernie Pearce, one of the race founders and the Dusi boss for many years. And this was a sign that you're going to have a good Dusi by giving her the flowers. Andy Burkett on the water early, tentative, so cautious, such a meticulous planner. Lance Kime, the defending K1 champion, all smiles, but that disguises the fact that he's feeling the pressure of being the defending title champion. Day one, 42 kilometers. It all starts with some quickfire weir action in the city of Pietermaritzburg. Mussins is actually a rapid. Highway leads you to the outskirts of the city, and Taxi Rapids then leads to the first of the two big portages, interspersed by Tegwan Rapid, and then the second big climb. Maze leads you into Mission, and then it's a long haul to the overnight with the option of Cabbage Tree. Andy Burkett, pensive as he gets onto the water, 4 titles under his belt already. He would love to add another K1 title to make up for the one that got through his fingers 2 years ago. The cannon fires, coinciding with the formal start of the race, and they take off. Andy Burkett, near his camera, knows that there's everything to be gained by getting to the weir first. Under 23 world marathon champion 2 years ago, and a man who, from being a good multi-sporter, has become a great paddler and a fantastic runner with a boat. As they head into the city of Pietermaritzburg, basking in the rays in the early morning, the paddlers now in the rare sight of some mist as they leave just after 6 o'clock. The pupils of Maritzburg College waiting at the early Pearce Weir, the first obstacle, literally a kilometre into the race. And Andy Burkett is ploughing ahead of the field. Initially there was a diamond of paddlers trying to sit on his waves, but now he's scorching away. And some unusual suspects into that first weir. Owen Gandar's right in the mix there as well. Lance Kime is right on the rudder of Andy Burkett as he goes bouncing down through the wave. And Andy Burkett has won that first prize. Clean water ahead of him by being the first man down Ernie Pearce Weir. Behind them, all sorts of carnage. Don Weregy almost losing his paddle on the right there as he goes down. Congestion 2 and 3 aside. This often causes an early morning swim and sometimes some rather unexpected casualties. Here's Alan Houston, the Michael House schoolboy, emptying his boat. Frustrating start for a man who's hoping to win the junior race. Through Alexandra Park, this is where the Dusi actually started in the 1950s, and as they move through this part of the course, Andy Burkett with 4 boats clinging to him like glue. Burkett leading the way into the YMCA weir here, down the fish chute and then through a bony rapid. He's got the line ideally on the right-hand side. Owen Gandar's going down the tricky rock-strewn line on the left, but he gets through there unscathed. Real bumper-to-bumper traffic as they go through the rapid below. Andy Burkett making it look deceptively easy, but watch the other boats getting bumped and thrashed around in the water. There are lots of rocks just under this water here, but everybody gets through it unscathed. For the A batch just behind them, second and third bunch, you don't want to make a mistake here. There's a big crowd which makes the swim embarrassing, but the time wasted in that swim will fatally floor the day one plans of any serious title contender. Great water bouncing out of the YMCA weir. Now back to C batch, and this is where all the seeded women are. And a really strange landscape here because Abby Adie's not there, Robin Kime is not there, no Abby Ulansky, so a very different looking women's race here. Everybody looking to one woman in particular who's making a remarkable comeback to this race after a long hiatus, and she's first to the weir. It's Laura O'Donoghue, mum of 2 and a woman who is determined to make the most of what she describes as her last serious go at the Dusi. She's come second before. She knows what that second step on the podium tastes like. This year, she says she wants to go one better. And the crowd watching at the Ernie Pearce Weir knows that there's a woman with a very serious race plan on her mind. There she is leading the women's crew as they go into the YMCA Weir. No problems at all. Cautious, she's done lots of homework and she's been the pace setter in the women's races in the build-up to this year's Dusi. Now, just behind them, they're the 2 Peak sisters come. And Kana Peak. Now, Kana Peak is still a schoolgirl. She's an Epworth schoolgirl, and just behind her sister Jordan, now in the top 6 comfortably, and a lot of people are saying just how good can Kana Peak go this year. On the outskirts of the city, the first of the long portages awaits, as there are now 3 boats at the front. Andy Burkett, Lance Kime and Sponello Zondi, with the rest of A batch being strung out behind them. And it's Kime and Burkett who have now started setting the pace as they go through the long, old-school Campbell's Farm portage. forced on them by the problems being confronted at the Darville sewer works at the moment. But as they get to the top of the cane fields at Hackland's farm, it's Andy Burkett who is trailing Lance Keim, who is really trying to put the hammer down here. Suddenly there are two boats at the front, and Burkett is having to dig deep to stay on the rudder of Lance Keim, who has sniffed an opportunity. Over the top of the hill they go, down past the polo cross fields at Bishopstowe Hall, and Owen Gandar also trying to stay and make the most of what has been a superstar from him. And a lot of top contenders, Martin Dreyer, who's now got a whole gaggle of contenders in the Computershare Change Your Life Academy who are vying for top 10 places. As the runners now go pounding through the bush, everybody looking to this man now, Sponello Kwela. And just behind him, Thulani Mbanjwa, winner and the first black man to win this title, and a man who's been something of a father figure to the generations that have followed in the wake of his success, pounding down the paths as some of his proteges follow right behind him, trying to emulate his achievements of the 2008-2009 season where he was so prolific. Heading downriver, the Dusi flowing at the full flow from Henley Dam and providing some relief from the paddlers who for most of the summer have had dry rivers to contend with. Thulani and Mbanjwa now starting to fall off the pack. The Fantastic Four seem to be becoming the Fantastic Three. Out they take out for the guinea fowl portage. Now this is tortuous. This is also where Sponello Kwela in the past has made his attack. He's currently sitting third. Can he use the opportunity once again to his advantage? And he rehearses these paths, these difficult paths over the two hills of Guinea Fowl and Devil's Cauldron meticulously. And there he goes. Kwela has made his move. He's into the lead. The other two are trailing in his wake. He is a juggernaut running with a boat. He also realizes that this is a chance he might not get again, certainly on the first stage. And you can see Lance Keim is struggling, as is Andy Burkett, to try and stay with the blinding pace of Sponello Kwela as he goes up Guinea Fowl portage. Thulani Mbanjwa now faltering in the background, fourth and out of contention, but certainly a man who we know with tenacity written all over him. He is not going to give up, as are some of the young chargers that are emulating him. Sponello Kwela getting to the top, and you can see he seems to be slowing. This is right at the top, at the end of the torturous Devil's Cauldron section, but you can also see Andy Burkett and Lance Keim are feeling the after effects of the heat and that steep ascent. Now Sponello Kwela charging downhill, looking over his shoulder. This is his gap. He's probably got 30-40 seconds, and this is a fantastic opportunity as they move into the final third of the stage one. Thulani Mbanjwa now in fourth, appealing for some help. He gets fantastic support in the valley where he's regarded as something of a cult figure. Down to the top of Jeff's Road, the boat goes off onto the drag line, and all of these athletes get maximum speed by dragging their boats down the road all the way back down to the Dusi River. So it's Kwela at the front. What can he do with this lead? Just behind him, there's bad news. The two are hunting together. It's Keim and Burkett. The women's race now. Let's catch up with Laura O'Donoghue, and she's hammering a chisel wedge between herself and the rest of the women's field. She's done plenty of training. She's really committed herself to a strong campaign. And Kana Peak has come up into second from 6th as she left Pietermaritzburg, and her sister Jordan just behind them. Well, the Peak sisters are certainly making an impact on the women's race this year. Back to the front now. How is Sponello Kwela doing? He's had a huge roll of the dice here. Still comfortably in front as he goes through the rapids that lead towards the maze and then eventually Mission Rapid, which is the biggest spectator point on day one. But behind him you can see Lance Keim has put down the hammer. Burkett is doing his level best to stay with him, and they are in contact once again. You can see from this shot that the gap is closing and closing all the time. Mission Rapid. Sponello Kwela safely through the final chute. Lance Keim charging into Mission. A lot of paddlers take it quite cautiously. You'll see Andy Burkett is playing it safe, but Keim is going, and he's going like a man possessed because he cannot afford to let Sponello Kwela get away. So the three front runners exit Mission Rapid about an hour to go to the finish at Dusi Bridge. Sponelo Kwela in the front here taking a slightly circuitous route, and Andy Burkett and Lance Kime are taking full advantage of that. Behind them, Tulani Mbanjwa is man alone in fourth as he enters Mission Rapid. Safely exits there. He's had a long, lonely day, but he's not giving up for a moment. Then the runners head into Finger Neck Portage. Here goes Lance Kime. They've closed out that lead of Sponelo Kwela, and Kime is running like a man possessed as he heads back down to the river because he knows he's got about 40 minutes in which to try and create an opportunity for himself. Andy Burkett, now both of these men are actually carrying niggle injuries, but it certainly doesn't show in their running. And Sponelo Kwela is now from first, he's putting in third. And you can see he's been dropped as the front two take off like scalded cats. Sponelo Kwela doesn't look that happy, and Tulani Mbanjwa behind him looking comfortable and competent. Now, as far as the women's race is concerned, it's all gone 100% according to plan for Laura O'Donoghue. She's got nearly 15 minutes in the lead as Kana Peak consolidates her place in second. What a fantastic performance by the youngster. Solidly in second. Could we see a junior on the podium when we get to Blue Lagoon in Durban? Back to the front, and you can see Sponelo Kwela is really battling. He's battling with cramps, and his body is just not cooperating as Lance Kime ricochets off the rocks and Andy Burkett takes off. This might be the opportunity that Andy Burkett needs to try and seize the initiative and take that overnight lead. Kwela now, you can see the pace has slacked off. He's had a miserable last half an hour. Body has just left him in the lurch. But as we head down to Dusi Bridge, where Andy Burkett is going to claim the overnight lead, and he dismantles the race record. A ridiculous number, more than 6 minutes. Burkett's going to reclaim the lead, and he knows how significant that is. Just less than 30 seconds back, Lance Kime is going to be in second overnight. This is still very much race on. Just think back to 2 years ago. He knows he can pull himself right back into the frame. Sponelo Kwela wrapping up third, but he's now going to have to do quite a bit of work tomorrow to get himself back onto the front bunch.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. Game plan today was to try and maintain and not let the guys get too far away, and to pull off a win on day one was a bit of a surprise for me, but I'm stoked and looking forward to tomorrow's stage.
Well, one person who will sleep well tonight is Laura O'Donoghue. Day one, 100% according to plan. Scary numbers in the men's classification. The record down by 7 minutes. The first four inside Sponelo's record of 2013, with Andrew Houston, the leading under 23, in fifth. So a massive lead for Laura O'Donoghue in the women's race, just shy of the race record. Not surprising since she was women alone all day. Kana Peak, the schoolgirl, in second, and her sister Jordan in third. Lots of weary bodies after day one, but there's cold comfort in the fact that day two is the tough one. It's the longest, 46 kilometers, all ending with 10 kilometers of torturous flat water on Inanda Dam. The 2015 Dusi Canoe Marathon, brought to you by the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Sport and Recreation, Hansa, and First National Bank.